Hello everyone, this is Kriti again, DGT Science from SR International School, and the chapter that we are now going to discuss is nutrition from plants, or nutrition taken by plants. We all have been learning about how animals take nutrition, how humans take nutrition. Even we have learned about how certain microbes or microorganisms they take their nutrition. But what about plants? How do they take their food? How do they digest? Well, we have been talking about this term nutrition every now and then. What is nutrition? What does it even mean? Nutrition is taking in a food, breaking it down into simpler soluble form so that it can be utilized by the blood cells or the cells of the body into the most appropriate form for the plants or the humans' growth and development, and also for other various functions. So therefore, nutrition is also important in plants for plants' growth and development, and also for the plant to bear different fruits and vegetables and new leaves, and for its own growth. So when we discuss about nutrition in plants can be divided into two main parts. One is autotrophic nutrition, other is heterotrophic nutrition. First, let's discuss about what autotrophic nutrition is. See, auto means self, troph means food. So therefore the plants which make their own food are known as autotrophs. They're also producers, and I'm sure by this you might have got the hint who autotrophs are. Autotrophs are basically your green plants. So green plants, they make their own food with the help of carbon dioxide as well as sunlight, water and minerals. And by this they produce their food and give out oxygen. This whole process is known as photosynthesis. Now let's discuss every single point of photosynthesis. Let's take up carbon dioxide first. Carbon dioxide, plants obtain carbon dioxide from we people, of course, like we and even the animals, as we take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide is taken up by plants in order to perform photosynthesis. Next comes water and minerals. This is taken up by plants' roots. Plants' roots takes these water and minerals from the soil and gives it or transports it throughout the plant body with the help of a tissue which is known as xylem. Next comes in the presence, you all must have seen while discussing about photosynthesis, we make an arrow in between. That means in the presence of sunlight, and number two component is chlorophyll. Now sunlight, green plants trap the solar energy or the sun's heat, because of which they are able to perform photosynthesis. Next is chlorophyll, which is a very, very important component here. Chlorophyll helps in providing leaves its green color. It is a green colored pigment which gives a plant, the leaves of the plant in which the food is made, its green color. And second function of chlorophyll is it is used for trapping solar energy, that is heat from the sun. When all this combines, this results in making up of glucose or starch, which is the food of the plant and is stored in the plant. The plant utilizes this and the rest of it is stored in the plant. And the last is oxygen, which is expelled out and is used by us and even other animals. Next, talking about heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Now, heterotrophic mode of nutrition is taken up by the plants which cannot synthesize on their own, or in other terms you can say which cannot make their own food, and therefore they depend on other plants to obtain their nutrition. Under this head, that is under the head of heterotrophic nutrition, you learn about saprophytic plants, you learn about insectivorous plants, parasitic plants, and also symbiotic relationship or symbiotic mode of nutrition. Let's discuss it one by one. Let's discuss first about parasitic plants. Now, parasitic plants are such plants which cannot photosynthesize, or which cannot make their own food, and therefore they depend on other plants to obtain their food. The plants from which parasitic plants obtain their food are known as host. Parasitic plants, they have modified roots which are called hostoria, which penetrate deep inside the host and thus absorb food from it. Some of the parasitic plants are capable of photosynthesizing on their own, but the roots of those parasitic plants are not so big enough that they can go deep inside the soil to draw water and minerals. Therefore, such kind of parasites, they can photosynthesize on their own, but in order to obtain water and minerals, they depend on other plants. They are known as partial parasites. Next, let's discuss about saprotrophs. Heterotrophs or saprophytic plants, they are the plants which obtain their food from the dead plants and animals, or from the dead remains of plants. Heterotrophs, they do not have chlorophyll, and therefore even they can be colorless. They can possess some color, maybe they are colorless, and that's the reason why they cannot photosynthesize, and thus they depend on on dead remains of plants and animals, or dead plants and animals, to obtain food. For example, even fungi. Right now, these heterotrophs, they secrete some digestive juices onto the bodies of the dead plants and animals. These digestive juices, they break down that part of dead animal or plant into simpler form, and thus now the simpler form can be easily taken up and absorbed by these heterotrophs. So therefore, this is how heterotrophs, they obtain their nutrition. Next, coming on to insectivorous plants. As the name suggests, insectivorous, these are the plants which obtain their food from other insects, like by eating other insects. Venus flytrap, sundew plant, or pitcher plant, they all are some examples of insectivorous plants. Let us discuss about one insectivorous plant. Taking an example of a pitcher plant. Pitcher plant takes in food as it's somewhat in this shape. I'll show you by diagram after this video. They're somewhat in this shape. They have a hollow cavity at the top. They attract insects. As soon as they attract insects, and as soon as the insect sits over the cavity, it allows a suction pull, and because of the suction pull, the insect is trapped in. It shuts down, right? As it shuts down, even the inside body, on the inside cavity of the insectivorous plant, it has some minute hair-like structures, and also the inner lining of the insectivorous plant is quite very slippery. Therefore, now when the insect is trapped inside the insectivorous plant, the hair-like structures, they do not allow the insect to move out, and because of the slippery walls, the insect, willingly or unwillingly, of course unwillingly, go deep inside the plant, and there the plant, inside its bell-like shape, it contains some digestive juices, into which when insect falls, it gets broken down into simpler soluble form, and thus is being absorbed and taken up by insectivorous plants. Next is symbiotic. Symbiotic relationship or symbiotic mode of taking in nutrition means, symbiosis means living together. That means an association in which one helps the other in order to obtain food. Let's take two examples. Number one is nitrogen fixation by Rhizobium. Rhizobium is actually a bacterium. Now, plants need nitrogen in the form of ammonia because that can be utilized better and in a better form by plants. Therefore, and plants directly cannot take nitrogen from the atmosphere. So what do? Rhizobium as a bacteria, it has the capability of taking a nitrogen from the atmosphere and changing it into ammonia, a simpler form of nitrogen which can be now utilized by the plants. So Rhizobium bacteria takes nitrogen from the atmosphere, changes it into ammonia and provides it to the plant. This way, Rhizobium is helping the plants. How do plants help Rhizobium? By providing it with food and shelter. So that's how Rhizobium and the crops, they both help each other, creating symbiosis. Next, one more example is of lichens. Lichens consist of algae and fungus. Now fungi, it's capable of providing algae with water and minerals, and algae containing chlorophyll, it can photosynthesize. Therefore, fungus helps the algae in providing algae with water and minerals, and algae, as it can photosynthesize, utilizes that water and minerals, prepares food, and also gives that food to fungus. So this is one more way how both of them, they help each other grow.